The year was 1991. Around a decade earlier, people had just started settling near the edge of a dense forest. The area was still largely unexplored, and rumors surrounded what might be hidden deep inside. One day, a group of 10 to 12 men decided to go into the forest to see what was there. As they walked deeper, something unusual caught their attention. In the middle of the forest, they discovered a massive ancient structure, something that looked like a monastery. It was clearly very old, yet strangely it didn't feel abandoned. The inside appeared clean, as if someone was regularly maintaining it. But the question was, who? No one from the nearby villages ever came this deep into the forest. As they explored further, they found something even more disturbing. There was a ritual platform, similar to a sacrificial altar, where offerings were once made. Around it lay scattered skulls and bones of different animals, and among them, unmistakably, a few human skulls as well. A chill ran down their spines. This wasn't just an old place. This was a place where human sacrifices might have happened. Though they couldn't tell how recent it was, the atmosphere made it clear this place was dangerous. Still, curiosity pushed them forward. They stepped inside the structure. What they saw next shocked them even more. Inside, there were several heavy weapons made of gold, tools that seemed to be used for rituals or sacrifices. 3 or 4 of them were placed carefully, as if they were still in use. At that moment, fear took over. No one would leave something like this here for no reason, one of them whispered. It means someone still comes here. Realizing the danger, they decided not to stay any longer and quickly left the place, warning each other never to return. But among them, there were 2 men whose names were never known. They had a different thought. If those golden weapons were real, they could sell them and earn a huge amount of money. Greed slowly took over their fear. That very night, they made a plan. Carrying small metal flashlights, they quietly entered the forest again under the cover of darkness. No one usually came to that area at night, and the forest was completely silent. Step by step, they reached the structure again. Everything was exactly as before. They went inside. The golden weapon was still there. One of them said, "You take it." The other replied, "No, you take it." After a moment of hesitation, one of them finally stepped forward. "Fine, I'll take it." As soon as he reached out and touched the weapon, something happened. Out of nowhere, it felt like a massive, hairy creature had entered the structure. The man standing behind saw it, and instantly terror consumed him. He turned around and ran as fast as he could. At that exact moment, a horrifying scream echoed through the forest. The scream came from the man who had touched the weapon. The man who ran didn't stop. Branches tore at his clothes, roots tripped his feet, but he didn't dare look back. That scream, it wasn't just pain. It was something far worse, something inhuman. He burst out of the forest and didn't stop until he reached the village. Breathless, shaking, eyes wide with terror. He tried to speak, but no words came out at first. When he finally did, his voice trembled. "There's something in there." It took him. The villagers gathered, but no one dared to go back that night. At dawn, a group of men, braver or perhaps more foolish, decided to investigate. Armed with sticks, knives, and whatever they could find, they went into the forest together. The path was still there. The structure still stood, but something had changed. The air felt heavier, thicker. As they stepped inside, silence. Too much silence. The golden weapons were still there, untouched. But the man who had tried to take one was nowhere to be seen. No body, no blood, nothing. Just his flashlight, lying on the ground, still switched on. One of the men whispered, "Maybe he ran deeper into the forest?" But another shook his head slowly. "No, something took him." Then someone else noticed something that made their blood run cold. The altar. It looked different, cleaner, as if it had just been used. And at the center of it was something fresh. Not bones, not skulls, but a dark, wet stain, still glistening. Suddenly, a low, guttural sound echoed from somewhere deep within the structure. Not loud, but enough to freeze every single one of them in place. Sounded like, breathing, heavy, slow, watching, waiting. No one said a word. No one needed to. They all turned at once and ran. This time, none of them looked back. From that day on, the forest was left untouched. The villagers made a silent agreement. No one would ever enter that place again. Years passed. The story faded into whispers, then into legend. But sometimes, on quiet nights, people who lived near the edge of that forest claimed they could still hear something. A distant sound, like a scream carried by the wind, or something else, something breathing. He kept thinking that at any moment something might grab him from behind. But no, he managed to make it out safely. He went back to the village and woke people up. Everyone started asking, "What happened? Why are you out of breath? What's wrong?" But he couldn't say that the two of them had gone there to steal weapons. So he said, "We sometimes go out at night for a walk. Out of curiosity, we went near that monastery at night. And after going there, this happened. He got into trouble." Hearing this, the villagers said, "Oh God!" Now they decided that going there at night would be too dangerous. "We can't do anything at night. We'll go in the morning." And truly, the next morning, a group of villagers went to that place. But something mysterious happened there. Something no one could have ever imagined. When they reached the spot, they started wondering, did we take the wrong path and come to a different place? Because there is no monastery here. They walked around the area searching carefully, but they couldn't find any monastery at all, even though it was supposed to be right there. Strange. Where did the monastery go? This wasn't supposed to happen. Another strange thing was that there was a patch of land, around 12 feet by 12 feet in size, and in that area there was no grass at all. It looked like freshly cleared land, like farmland just before crops are planted, where all the weeds have been removed. That entire 12 by 12 foot space was completely clean soil, but all around it, there were bushes and dense vegetation. Some large trees too, but mostly thick shrubs and wild growth. That's when they realized, overnight, the monastery had sunk deep into the ground. But why? What was the reason? They couldn't understand. Then they started searching for the man who had died. What happened to his body? They looked around. At one place, they found only his head. His body was nowhere to be found. They had earlier noticed a patch of wet blood, and by following its trail, they eventually found the head. But the rest of the body was gone. Just by looking at the head, it was clear that it had been severed from the body with a single strike of a sharp weapon, which meant he had been sacrificed. And perhaps after that sacrifice, the monastery had sunk into the earth. The villagers were terrified. They took the head back with them. Since the body was never found, they buried only the head. After that, several years passed. Gradually, people began moving further into that side of the area for farming. Slowly, they cleared much of the bushes and wild vegetation. Eventually, even the area around where the monastery once stood became clean and open. People started preparing that land for agriculture. But the exact spot where the monastery had been, they still hadn't touched it. No digging, no plowing. That place remained untouched. Children used to play there. After the land had been cleared, one day something strange happened. There was a boy from the village named Mana. He used to go there in the afternoons to play with his friends. By then, the surrounding area was mostly clean and open. One day, while he was there, he suddenly saw a very tall man, around 8 or 9 feet in height. He wasn't exactly frightening in appearance, but something about him felt strange. The man said, "Go away from here. Do not come here." But Mana kept returning to that same spot while playing. And every time he came near that place, he saw the same man again. And each time the man warned him, "Don't come here. Leave." Mana would leave. But then, for some reason, he would come back again. It was as if something was pulling him toward that place again and again. Still, nothing bad happened that day. That night, Mana went home and told his mother everything. He said, "I saw a very tall man there. He kept telling me to go away." His mother replied, "Maybe that man has taken a lease of that land from the government. But I don't know if there's anyone that tall in this village. We all know each other here. Well, maybe someone else took it. Someone we don't know. He might be planning to do something there soon. What happened the next day? The next day, when Mana went to play, he kept going back to that same spot again and again in the same way. Even then, no one really noticed that something unusual might be happening. Mana kept going there repeatedly. Some of his friends called out, "Mana, come here, come this way," and he would come back. But suddenly, it was seen that Mana was lying face down on the ground. Everyone became alarmed. As people started moving toward him, they were first struck with fear, because from a distance it looked like Mana's body had no head. Seeing that, they screamed. But as they got closer, they realized that his head was actually still attached to his body. It was just bent forward at an unnatural angle, partially pushed into the soil. From far away, it had looked like his head was missing because it was tilted forward and buried slightly into the ground. By then, Mana's family members had arrived. They came and saw that Mana was dead. He had suffered a severe head injury. There was a deep, heavy impact on his head, and that was what caused his death. They carried Mana back from there. Many people couldn't understand what had really happened. But when Mana's mother told the others that the previous evening Mana had seen something strange and had told her about it, people began to realize something. They started thinking, why had Mana been going to that exact spot again and again? What was pulling him there? No one had understood it before, and perhaps that was the reason behind his death. Then, another incident occurred. 1 or 2 days after Mana's death, another boy from the same village named Sham went to that area. When he went there, the people with him noticed something strange. Sham was standing completely still in one place, not moving at all. His friends went closer and said, "Sham, what's wrong? Why are you just standing there?" But Sham didn't respond. When they touched him, his body suddenly jerked slightly. After that, he began behaving very abnormally. The others quickly held him and took him back home. At that time, the Maghrib call to prayer had not even happened yet. Sham continued acting strangely, but after the Maghrib call to prayer, he suddenly started saying something very unusual. Inform Alamran Huser. Inform Alamran Huser. Alamran Huser was a respected religious figure. About 2 kilometers inside from the village, there was a mosque and a madrasa. He was the imam of that mosque and also the head teacher of the madrasa. So they sent word to him. Alamran Huser came. When he arrived at Sham's house, he had not even entered yet. Suddenly, it felt as if someone from behind said to him, "Huser, you don't need to protect yourself. Go inside. We need to speak with you." Hearing this, he was quite surprised. No need to protect himself? Usually, whenever he went somewhere for spiritual treatment, he would be warned or threatened, told to leave immediately. But this time, it was the opposite. It was inviting him in. This felt strange. He thought this might be a trick, perhaps something done by jinn to put him in danger. So, naturally, he still performed his protective recitations before entering. Then he went inside. As soon as he entered, he sensed something different. There was a strong positive energy in that house, an entity that felt old, disciplined, and spiritually devoted. After seeing Sham, he understood that Sham was possessed by something. He began to recite prayers, preparing to blow over him, but he didn't even get the chance. Sham started speaking, and Huser realized it was not Sham speaking. It was something else speaking through him. The voice said, "Huser, I am leaving now. After the Isha prayer, wait in front of the mosque. I need to speak with you. It is important." No one else saw anything, but Huser noticed something. From Sham's body, something like smoke separated. That smoke began to take the shape of a dervish-like figure, and then it disappeared. He had already led the Maghrib prayer earlier, so he returned to the mosque for Isha. After leading the Isha prayer, when all the worshippers had left, he sat inside the mosque for a while. Time passed. No one came. Then he stepped outside. He walked around. Still no one. Beside the mosque, there was a pomegranate tree. Under it, there was a small raised bamboo platform for sitting. He went and sat there. Sitting quietly, he began his usual remembrance and recitations after prayer. Then suddenly, he saw a figure approaching. Tall, around 7 feet in height. Long beard, eyebrows and eyelashes completely white. His face had an unusual glow, calm, radiant, almost otherworldly. The figure came closer and greeted him with peace. Huser returned the greeting of peace. Then it was seen that, as if from nowhere, a throne-like chair appeared for that figure to sit on. Before sitting, the figure said, "Huser, if you permit, may I sit?" Huser replied, "Of course, please sit." Then both of them sat down. Huser was sitting on the bamboo platform, and the figure sat on that special chair that seemed to have appeared just for him. Then the figure began to speak. "Huser, I have some urgent matters to discuss with you. I felt that it was necessary for you to know these things. That is why I possessed Sham. And I told them to inform you. You came and I left from there. Now what I am about to tell you, it is not only important for you but for many people around as well. That is why I have brought you here. I will tell you a special story. This is not just a story. It is the story of my life. There are many lessons within it. You must know it. And not only know it, there is also a task related to it. I will speak to you about that as well." Then the conversation began. The jinn introduced himself. His name was Alyaki Sura. He belonged to the Musaba lineage of jinn. It is said that the jinn of the Musaba lineage are extremely powerful, pious, and spiritually strong. Among the most respected groups of jinn, this lineage is considered one of the highest. Alyaki Sura was the leader of that lineage. He said, "The year was 1909. At that time, the British had already established a strong opium trade in this land. In this area, this site here, there was a landlord-like figure named Narayan Sutra. And at that time, there was an Englishman named Rover Ferry. Rover Ferry wanted to expand the opium business significantly, but he was not an official of the East India Company, nor was he a government officer. He was simply a businessman. He used to trade goods, buying from here, sending them to England, and bringing goods back. Ships would travel through the Calcutta port. That was how he ran his business. But his main interest was opium, and the biggest obstacle in his way was Narayan Sutra. Narayan Sutra did not like opium trade in his region. It cannot be said that he was extremely kind or helpful to people, but the people respected him. They listened to him. His word was final in that area. He wanted agriculture. He had his own farmland. Why would opium be cultivated there? He strongly opposed it. Because of this, a conflict began between Rover Ferry and Narayan Sutra. Rover Ferry had decided that he would no longer return to England. He wanted to settle here permanently. For that, it was necessary for him to establish dominance in this area. But he realized something. He could not defeat Narayan Sutra and the other influential people here with intelligence alone. Something else was needed. Rover Ferry understood that many people in this region turned to occult practitioners, tantrics, for black magic. Through these rituals, dangerous entities were summoned, and they would assist in various ways. So, to eliminate Narayan Sutra, he decided to take that path. He assigned one of his most loyal followers to find a powerful tantric. That follower eventually found a very old Hindu tantric, over 90 years old. His name was Samartpun. He was highly skilled in occult practices. When Samartpun was told about the situation, that Narayan Sutra needed to be defeated, that the opium trade was failing because of him, that orders could not be fulfilled, he agreed. But he said something was required, a special ritual. For that, they needed a dead head, a particular kind of severed head. It was said that from a certain lower caste within Hindu society, if a male member died, he would be buried deep underground, around 23 feet below. After 56 days, if the grave was dug up and the head was brought out, and rituals were performed on it, then a powerful jinn could be summoned, and that jinn could be controlled. So they needed that head. Rover Ferry agreed, but the question was, who would bring it? He turned to his loyal follower and said, "I will give you enough money that you will never have to serve me again. You can live freely for the rest of your life." The man agreed. Exactly after 56 days, he went to the burial site. He began digging. Digging 23 feet deep was not easy, but he was strong. Eventually, he reached the body. After 56 days, much had changed. But one thing had not: the face. When he cleared the soil from the face, he was terrified. It looked like his own father. For a moment, fear took over him. But then he convinced himself it must be an illusion. His father had died long ago. This was someone else, buried here 56 days ago. He cut off the head. Though, in truth, after 56 days, it didn't take much effort. Came off easily. He placed it inside a bag and brought it back. Even though he was afraid, he delivered the head to Rover Fairy. Rover Fairy then handed it over to Samarpan. But within about 10 days, that man died. He had been deeply shaken. He developed a high fever, suffered from seizures, and eventually passed away. No one paid much attention to his death. Then Samarpan went to that monastery. After reaching there, he said, "I know you are here. I need your guidance. I need your help." Suddenly, from inside the monastery, a massive, hairy, monstrous figure emerged. Beside it, there was a chair. No one knew where it came from. The creature sat on the chair. Samarpan went closer and sat near it. Then he placed the severed head at the creature's feet and said, "There is a special task, and it must be done." Dear listeners, now let's take a step back into the past, because there's another layer to this story, and it's deeply connected to Alayakisura. Who was Alayakisura, and what is his connection to all of this? To understand that, we need to talk about Samarpan, a cunning, deceptive, and extremely powerful sorcerer. Samarpan had loyal jinn under his command. Through them, he gathered secret information about the movement routes of other jinn. You see, jinn do not travel randomly. Their paths are specific, and the more powerful the jinn, the more exclusive and hidden their routes are. His followers would track these routes and report everything back to him. And what did Samarpan do with that information? He would sit along those very paths and perform rituals. But he didn't directly capture or control the jinn. Instead, he set traps, carefully crafted traps. He knew exactly when a jinn would pass through a certain path, and at that exact time, he would begin practicing an ancient form of magic, something incredibly rare and dangerously powerful. Only a handful of jinn even knew about such magic, and those who mastered it became extraordinarily powerful. So when a jinn passed by and saw Samarpan performing such forbidden magic, curiosity would take over. They would approach him and ask to be taught. "I want to learn this magic," they would say. "Will you teach me?" And that's when Samarpan's true trick began. He wouldn't imprison them in chains, nor lock them away in a prison. Instead, he would manipulate them in such a way that they became completely submissive, unable to disobey him no matter what. This is how he built his control. Now, one day, something significant happened. Alayakisura, the leader of the Museba clan, was returning from a long journey with over 1,000 powerful jinn. Samarpan already knew. He knew exactly which path they would take. And he also knew, if he could somehow control the leader of such a powerful clan, it would change everything. So he sat along that path and began practicing a rare and forbidden magic known as soul-binding magic. Dear listeners, you may remember, this type of magic has appeared in previous stories as well. It's not something ordinary beings can perform. Only a very small number of entities, human or jinn, possess such knowledge. As Samarpan performed this ritual, it did not go unnoticed. Alayakisura saw it, and the moment he did, a desire awakened within him. Even among jinn, there is a hunger for power just like humans. Just as people seek positions of authority, leaders, ministers, rulers, for power, jinn too are no different. When Alayakisura realized the magnitude of the magic Samarpan was using, he became eager to learn it. He turned to his companions and said, "You all return to the clan. I will follow shortly." After they left, he approached Samarpan and expressed his desire to learn the magic. Samarpan agreed, but with a condition. "I will teach you," he said, "but you must leave something valuable as a guarantee that you will return." "What do you want?" asked Alayakisura. "Your ring." That ring was not ordinary. It symbolized his authority as the leader of his clan. But Sura thought, "I'll return soon anyway." So without much hesitation, He handed over the ring and left. When he returned to his clan, he sat upon his throne, and the council gathered before him. But something felt wrong. A murmur spread among them. Whispers filled the hall. Furious, Alayakisura roared, "I am here before you. Why are you whispering? Is this how you show respect to your leader?" One of them stood up and said, "You are no longer our leader." Sura was stunned. "What do you mean?" "If you are truly our leader," the jinn replied, "then where is your ring? Without it, we do not recognize you." Unbeknownst to him, the clan spies had already uncovered the truth. They had learned that their leader had given away his sacred ring to a human sorcerer, just to learn magic. The council was outraged. "You have betrayed us," they said. "You have put the entire clan at risk. In this moment, you are stripped of your position. You are no longer worthy, not just to lead, but even to remain among us." And just like that, he was exiled. Alayakisura couldn't even process what had happened. Everything had changed in an instant. With nowhere else to go, he returned to Samarpan. When he demanded his ring back, Samarpan simply smiled. "I will return your ring," he said, "but only if you complete a task for me." "What task?" "You must fight in a war, and you must win. Only then," Samarpan added, "will you get your ring back." With no other choice, Alayakisura agreed. Though he had been cast out, he still had a few loyal followers. Powerful warrior jinn who remained by his side no matter what. And so, he waited for the moment when the opportunity would come. Meanwhile, Samarpan had already taken further steps. He didn't fully trust Alayakisura, because Sura was a disciplined, devout jinn, someone who might resist control at any time. So Samarpan sought a darker force, something far more dangerous, to ensure absolute dominance over him. And then, another figure arrived, Rover Fairy. He came to Samarpan and said, "Many of my soldiers have been struck by the plague. This disease has spread rapidly. Many have already died. And in this condition, we cannot go to war." Now the problem was clear. Narayan Sutra had a massive army, but Rover Fairy did not. Most of his followers had already been struck by the plague. Many were too weak to fight, some were already dead. So how could he possibly go to war? And yet, avoiding the battle was not an option either. If he refused to fight, his very existence, his power, his authority would collapse. Desperate, he turned to Samarpan. Samarpan calmly said, "You don't need to worry. Announce the time of the battle. Declare when and where you will fight, and you will win." Trusting his words, Rover Fairy sent an open challenge to Narayan Sutra. "Come," he declared. "On this day, at this time, at this place, we will fight." Narayan Sutra accepted. Both sides began preparing, but the imbalance was obvious. Rover Fairy's forces were severely weakened. The plague had devastated his army, leaving him with only a fraction of his original strength. That's when the responsibility was given to Alayakisura. He was told he and his loyal jinn would fight on behalf of Rover Fairy. Alayakisura agreed, but with one condition. "We will join the battle," he said, "but only after a certain time. Until then, Rover Fairy must hold his ground. If he fails before that, nothing can be done." He also made it clear the attack must happen at night. During the day, it would not be possible. The terms were accepted, and so, the battle began. Rover Fairy's forces clashed with Narayan Sutra's army, but it quickly turned into a disaster. They were outnumbered, overwhelmed. One by one, Rover Fairy's soldiers fell. The defeat was brutal. In a short time, only 5 warriors remained, besides Rover Fairy himself. And even they were surrounded. It was over, or at least, it seemed that way. At that very moment, Alayakisura arrived. With a group of his most loyal and powerful warrior jinn, he launched a sudden attack on Narayan Sutra's forces. And within moments, the entire tide of the battle began to shift. Narayan Sutra's army was caught completely off guard. They couldn't understand what was happening. One by one, they began to fall. Even Narayan Sutra himself was killed. But just as victory seemed certain, something far more terrifying appeared. In the western sky, a strange red glow began to spread, a deep, blood-like crimson light. Alayaki Sura immediately realized this was no natural phenomenon. Something was coming. From within that red glow, figures began to emerge, armed for war, and without warning they attacked. They descended upon Alayaki Sura's forces with overwhelming ferocity. The jinn under his command didn't even have time to react. One by one, they were slaughtered, beheaded, falling before they could even understand what was happening. Alayaki Sura was stunned. This was not supposed to happen. No one else was expected on this battlefield. So where had they come from? Immediately, he summoned one of his spy jinn. "What is happening?" he demanded. The spy returned with the answer in less than a minute. "Samarpan," he said. "He has summoned a monstrous entity, using severed heads as part of a dark ritual. That creature, along with its followers, has been sent here to attack. This was his plan all along, to capture you and make you his eternal servant, to bind you not only to himself, but also to that creature." The moment Alayaki Sura heard this, his rage exploded. Without wasting a second, he vanished from the battlefield. For beings like them, even a brief moment is enough to cross vast distances. He went straight to Samarpan. At that time, the monstrous entity was still present on the battlefield with its followers, which meant Samarpan was alone. Alayaki Sura didn't hesitate. With a single strike, he beheaded him. Then, without delay, he returned to the battlefield. This time, he unleashed his full power. He fought the monstrous forces with everything he had. One by one, the creatures began to fall, and his loyal jinn, regaining their strength and courage, joined the fight once again. The battle turned once more, and finally, the monstrous entity was captured, defeated, bound. Alayaki Sura had also taken back his ring from Samarpan. As soon as he wore it again, his power surged. His authority was restored. Once again, he became the leader of his clan. His followers returned to him. Order was restored. As for the creature, it was taken away, sealed within a monastery-like structure, deep in a remote place. That place had a dark history. Long before this, sacrifices had been performed there. Not human sacrifices originally, but animals offered in ritual practices. But now, it became a prison, a place designed to hold that entity forever. It was bound in such a way that it could never escape. However, could not be killed. That was one of Alayaki Sura's limitations. And according to him, that dark ritual involving severed heads still remains under the control of that very creature. And because that dark ritual remains under its control, the creature still holds a portion of its power. Its loyal followers have never stopped trying to free it from its imprisonment. And for that, they have a plan, a requirement. A certain number of sacrifices must be completed. Only then will it be set free. But here's what makes it even more disturbing. This entity did not originally sacrifice humans, nor animals. It sacrificed jinn. It fed on them. It grew stronger by consuming its own kind. Its connection with humans was minimal, which is exactly why it was sealed in that specific place. A place where sacrifices had once been performed. That ritual platform, the very altar, even jinn were sacrificed there. And those golden weapons, those were the tools used in those rituals. That is where it was imprisoned. But then, a new problem emerged. When humans eventually realized that a person had been killed there, that it might have been a sacrifice, there was a real danger. People might destroy the structure. And if that happened, everything could spiral out of control. So the creature's followers took action. They didn't just hide the place. They sank it beneath the ground, buried it, but not in a way that would stop the creature completely. Because even now, whenever any living being wanders too close, a human or an animal, they are seized, captured, and sacrificed. And with every sacrifice, they move one step closer to freeing their master. Only a few more sacrifices remain, and once that number is fulfilled, it will be released, and when it returns, it will be far more powerful than before, and that means far greater danger for everyone. Alayaki Sura understood this. He said, "Since this disaster began because of me, I cannot walk away." He stepped down from his position as the leader of his clan, appointed someone else in his place, and chose to remain there, guarding that place, so that no human would fall victim. Then he revealed something even more shocking. That boy, Mana, he died by my hand, but I never intended to kill him. He kept coming back to this place, again and again, but he wasn't coming on his own. He was being lured, trapped in illusions created by those entities. I tried to stop him, and yes, I threw him, but I didn't mean to kill him. He fell, struck his head, and died. If I hadn't stopped him, he might have been sacrificed, and if that had happened, the creature might already have been free. Think about it. How many lives would have been lost? That is why I did what I did. He then added, I influenced Sham so that I could reach you, and now that you know the truth, you must warn the villagers. No one must come here, not under any circumstances. After this, Alayaki Sura discussed possible solutions with Al-Imran Huser. Many ideas were suggested. One of them was to build a mosque there, but Huser explained, that is not possible. For a mosque, certain conditions must be fulfilled. The land must be properly dedicated for that purpose. But this is government land, and there was already a monastery here. A mosque cannot be built over it. So what could be done? Huser said, I will speak to the landowner. We will find a way. After thanking him, Alayaki Sura departed. Later, Huser spoke to the landowner and explained everything. The landowner then revealed something strange. For some time now, I've been having dreams. Ever since I took this land on lease from the government. In my dreams, someone warns me, do not come here. Do not let anyone come here. That warning was not from the evil entities. They wanted people to come, because more people meant more sacrifices. More sacrifices meant freedom. Those dreams were sent by Alayaki Sura himself. After discussing everything, they made a decision. They would block the place. A thick bamboo thicket would be created artificially, covering an area of about 12 by 12 feet. Dense, sharp, impenetrable, so that no one could enter, because if anyone entered, they would not return. The plan was carried out. Over time, more bushes and wild growth surrounded the area, but the core spot remained that same small, hidden space. Today, many people tell stories about that place. Some treat it like folklore, a myth, but others know the truth, because Alayaki Sura wanted the truth to be known.